All right, so hi Facebook, hi YouTube, and hi especially to Taraz and Parth who are with us actually live, even though we're live on the line. So this is actually really exciting because we are finally going to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. We went through the whole sketch of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. He's like the living embodiment of what the Bhagavatam played out looks like. And now that we have that, we've seen what Bhagavatam looks like a little bit here in this age. Now we can try and apply the actual Bhagavatam to our life. So we are in the first chapter, Questions by the Sages. First verse, very nice verse. So, but before that, just to do what is proper, we'll chant some prayers glorifying the Bhagavatam. And we'll chant some prayers to the Gurus. So, speaking on anything, come in properly. Together.
Namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayam. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srimvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Viryanta Storya Bhadrani Vidunoti Vishwavitsata.
Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Jai.
Jai.
And
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as irrevocable fact.
Jai.
now again our prayers
Om Ajnantimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Patadamalam Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Divam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Sampradeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So we have humbly requested the blessings of the gurus all the way up to Krishna, and hopefully it comes down in that lineage, and by good fortune we are reading from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Veda Vyasa's Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a very special day. It's also very auspicious because today is Pandava Nirjala Ekadashi. I don't know if anyone knows of this Ekadashi, but it's the most celebrated and most practiced Ekadashi. Why? I'll just tell a brief pastime where Bhima, who was Arjuna's brother, he was a very, very powerful and strong warrior. Like, no one had more physical strength than Bhima at the time of the Mahabharata. I mean, maybe Krishna did, but exhibited, Bhima was like known to be the most powerful warrior in the planet as far as raw power of the body. So Bhima, in order to have such muscle and so much power, he had a crazy digestion. Like, his digestion was so like quick that like he always needed to be eating. He like always needed to be eating. So when it came to fasting, though, it was very difficult for him. Actually impossible for him to fast. So he approached the sage Narada Muni to be like, well, what do I do? Actually, was it Narada Muni? It might have been Krishna, actually, to be like, well, what do I do during this fast? And the consolation was that he was to fast on this one Ekadashi, which was today, Pandava Nirjala Ekadashi, and that just by doing this one Ekadashi, you will get all the benefit and blessings of performing all of the Ekadashis. So a lot of devotees like myself were a bit thrifty and like a good deal on things. You know, we're like, oh, well, if I just do this one Ekadashi, I get the benefit of all the Ekadashis. I'm in. So today is that Ekadashi. So it's very auspicious that we're starting the actual Bhagavatam on this day. And it's completely by accident. And but it's also, you know, a great day to really dive deep spiritually. Maybe if it's technically called Pandava Nirjala Ekadashi. Jala is water. Nirjala means no water. So if you can go without water on this day, it is the recommendation. It was Bhima's recommendation. But to start, maybe that's always next year or many years to come, to start, just hyper spiritualize today. That's so it's also very auspicious, Taraj. You decided at 4:45 in the morning you'd want to take like an hour plus bike ride and make it here, which is really cool actually. So very good day to do something like that. So yeah, let's begin Bhagavatam. So we're going to do the first verse. Parth, do you think you can share with Taraz or show him? So just so you know, we're going to have maybe a slightly different translation. It's not much different. The Bhagavad Gita is very different from the original one, but the Bhagavatam is only very slight variations of difference are there. So, repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this is actually the first, we chant this all the time, but this is why, because this is the first verse of the Bhagavatam, first line. Now, Janmadyasya yato, no, it goes like this, sorry. Janmadyasya yaton vayadi taratash charteshva bhigyaswara. You want to give it a try? Janmadyasya yaton vayadi taratash charteshva bhigyaswara. Tene brahma hridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayaha. Tene brahma hridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayaha. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha. Damna svena sadani rasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Damna svena sadani rasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Repeat after me. Om. O my Lord. Namaha. Offering my obeisances. Bhagavate. Unto the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaya. Unto Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, or Lord Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord. Janma Adi, creation, sustenance and destruction. Asya, of the manifested universes. Yataha, from whom? Anvayat, directly. Itarataha, indirectly. Cha, and. Artheshu, purposes. Abhigyaha, fully cognizant. Swarat, fully independent. Tene, imparted. Brahma, the Vedic knowledge. Hrida, consciousness of the heart. Yaha, one who. Adi Kavaye, unto the original created being. Muhyanti, are illusioned. Yat, about whom? Surayaha, great sages and demigods. Tejaha, fire. Vari, water. Mridam, earth. Yatha, as much as. Vinimayaha, action and reaction. Yatra, whereupon. Trisargaha, three modes of creation. Creative faculties. Amrisha, almost factual. Damna, along with all transcendental paraphernalia. Svena, self-sufficiently. Sada, always. Nirasta, negation by absence. Kuhakam, illusion. Satyam, truth. Param, absolute. Dhimahi, I do meditate upon. Great. So this is, it won't be so comprehensive. This is a very long verse, these 12 syllable verses, the meters. So, again, repeat after me. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudev, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
respectful obeisances unto you.
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna
because he is the absolute truth
because he is the absolute
and the
truth,
primeval cause of all causes,
the primeval cause of all causes,
of the creation,
of the creation,
sustenance,
sustenance,
and destruction
and destruction
of the manifested
of the
universes.
manifested universe.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations,
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations,
and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him.
and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahma,
The original living being.
the original living being.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water, seen, and fire,
As one is bewildered by the illusionary representations of water seen and fire,
or land seen on water.
or land seen on water.
So he's talking about like mirages, and then also there's you see it in the ocean. People who are sailors, if they've been sailing for a while, a lot of times they'll feel like they see land due to the way the sun's reflecting in the water. So just like that, only because of him
Only because of him
do the material universes,
do the material universe
temporarily manifested
temporarily manifested
by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
appear factual,
appear factual,
although they are unreal.
although they are unreal.
I therefore meditate upon him,
I therefore meditate upon him,
Lord Sri Krishna,
Lord Sri Krishna,
who is eternally existent
who is eternally existent
in the transcendental abode,
in the transcendental world,
which is forever free
which is forever free
from the illusory representations
from the illusory representations
of the material world.
of the material world.
I meditate upon him,
I meditate upon him,
for he is the absolute truth.
for he is the absolute truth.
Jai. So, this is going to be a pretty long purport, but this verse needs a lot of unpacking. So we might even just do this whole one verse today. You might not even get through the end of it. Okay, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva directly indicate Lord Sri Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact will be more explicitly explained in the text of this work. Sri Vyasadeva asserts herein that Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all others are his direct or indirect plenary portions, or portions of the portion. Remember, plenary means like absolute, coming from the spiritual world. Srila Jiva Goswami has even more explicitly explained the subject matter in his Krishna Sandarbha. And Brahma, the original living being, has explained the subject of Sri Krishna substantially in his treatise named Brahma Samhita. In the Samaveda Upanishad, it is also stated that Lord Sri Krishna is the divine son of Devaki. Therefore, in this prayer, the first proposition holds that Lord Sri Krishna is the primeval Lord, and if any transcendental nomenclature, Parth, you're going to have to, I think nomenclature has something to do with the name.
Yeah.
That's what a it has.
Scientific.
Okay. So look up the word though if you can, nomenclature, so we know. And if any transcendental nomenclature is to be understood as belonging to the absolute personality of Godhead, it must be the name indicated by the word Krishna, which means the all-attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord asserts himself to be the original personality of Godhead, and this is confirmed by Arjuna, and also by great sages like Narada, Vyasa, and many others. In the Padma Purana, it is also stated that out of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Vasudeva indicates the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and all the different forms of the Lord, being identical with Vasudeva, are indicated in this text. The name Vasudeva particularly indicates the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramahamsas, who are the perfect ones among those in the renounced order of life. So, just to unpack a little bit here, Vasudeva is Krishna's, indicating Krishna's father, but it's very popular, you would go by the name of your father. my birth name is Ronald. That's also my father's name, so it would be extra natural for me to take the name Ronald. But Ronald could indicate me, or it could also indicate my father. I'm coming from this lineage. Like, this was always very big. So Vasudeva also indicates the all-pervading Lord as well. Prabhupada is not going into that definition, because he really, and actually there's many meanings and confidential meanings that this verse of the Bhagavatam actually can go into. And there's ways to indicate, and I won't go on to all of them because it's more advanced, but there's ways to indicate the supreme position of Krishna, which is what Prabhupada's going to get into, the supreme position of Radha, the supreme position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's amazing what our acharyas are able to extract from these confidential meanings of the words of the Sanskrit in this Bhagavatam verse. So it's every verse of the Bhagavatam is like that. You can find so many meanings in just one verse. So really, this is going to be a life study. This is not, I'll just read the Bhagavatam once and I'll get it. Nope. You will have unpack more and more and more and more every time, which is why even after reading it a few times, I'm like, all right, we got to start again, So here we are. We're like this. It's indicating Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, which means the all-attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord asserts himself to be the original personality of Godhead. And this is also going to be confirmed by Arjuna and great sages like Narada and Vyas, who is the author. So, if you didn't know, now Bhagavatam is absolutely, because there's some potential confusion in different Puranas and different Vedas, what's Krishna's position? Is he an avatar? Is he a great personality? What is his position? And the Bhagavatam states, no, he is indeed the personality of Godhead. And it's going to go on, from which even Brahma, the original being of the universe, takes birth from. So, this is said, there's an indication, param dhimahi, actually to the Gayatri mantra. I mean, dhimahi means I do meditate upon. So he's meditating upon Sri Krishna, the absolute truth. So, we are going to continue reading, though. Krishna is always meditated by the Paramahamsas, who are the perfected ones among those in the renounced order of life. So those who have given up everything, Krishna is the one they meditate upon. Now Vasudeva, or Lord Sri Krishna, is the cause of all causes. Everything that exists emanates from the Lord. How is this so, is explained in later chapters of this work. This work is described by Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya as the spotless Purana, because it contains the transcendental narration of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The history of the Srimad Bhagavatam is also very glorious. It was compiled by Sri Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in transcendental knowledge. He wrote this under the instructions of Sri Naradji, his spiritual master. Vyasadeva compiled all Vedic literatures containing the 4 divisions of the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutras or the Brahma Sutras, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and so on, but nevertheless he was not satisfied. His dissatisfaction was observed by his spiritual master, and thus Narada advised him to write on the transcendental activities of Lord Sri Krishna. These transcendental activities are described specifically in the 10th canto of this work. But in order to reach to the very substance, one must proceed gradually by developing knowledge of the categories. So this is the recommendation, and this is going to be explained how Vyasadeva met Narada, how Narada instructed him. He included it all as part of the Bhagavatam. So in later chapters of this work, this is all going to be explained in detail. It is natural that a philosophical mind wants to know about the origin of the creation. At night, he sees the stars in the sky. We used to see such things now. It's getting harder and harder. And he naturally speculates about their inhabitants. Such inquiries are natural for man because man has a developed consciousness which is higher than that of the animals? The author of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a direct answer to such inquiries. He says that the Lord Sri Krishna is the origin of all creations. He is not only the creator of the universe, but the destroyer as well. The manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time, and then it is annihilated by his will. Therefore, the supreme will is behind all cosmic activities. Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in a creator, but that is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist, for example, has created space satellites, and by some arrangement or other, these satellites are thrown into outer space to fly for some time at the control of the scientist who is far away. Similarly, all the universes with innumerable stars and planets are controlled by the intelligence of the personality of Godhead. In Vedic literatures, it is said that the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living personalities. All living beings, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual living beings. And above Brahma, there are even other living beings with individual capacities, and the personality of Godhead is also a similar living being. And he is an individual, as are the other living beings. But the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Living Being, has the greatest intelligence, and he possesses supermost inconceivable energies of all different varieties. It's talking like the position of the Godhead, of the Supreme Lord. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brains higher than man can produce similarly wonderful things, which are far superior. The reasonable person will easily accept this argument, but there are stubborn atheists who would never agree. Srila Vyasadeva, however, at once accepts the supreme intelligence as the Parameshwara. That means supreme, the ultimate controller. He offers his respectful obeisances unto the supreme intelligence addressed as the Para, or the Parameshwar, or the supreme personality of Godhead. And that Parameshwar is Sri Krishna, as admitted in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures delivered by Sri Vyasadeva, and specifically in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, Samam Bonam, than himself. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. So, Sri Vyasadeva, actually, he's using a lot of language as well. Like I said, there's many interpretations, one. And actually, depending on one's realization, you can derive a different meaning. So if, say, Vedantists were to hear the words Paratattva, that would mean the supreme truth. We can understand, since we have knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, that's indicating Krishna, but the Vedantists may not have that ability to have that indication. So actually, Vyasadeva is mentioning, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, so he's indicating Krishna, but there are other sects who try and are able to derive other meaning, and they get value from Bhagavatam, but they might not understand the confidential indications of the author, Sri Vyasadeva. So Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. Remember, this is like the top part of Bhagavatam. What's Bhagavatam getting out that no other Purana before has had? And that's the pastimes of Krishna. So this is like the topmost jewel. And we talk about them all the time. Like on Fridays, we're doing Krishna's pastimes. These are all from the Bhagavatam. Now, but Prabhupada will say, unscrupulous persons. What was the nomenclature again?
Nomenclature is a system of names.
A system of names. Okay, that's what I thought.
Body a system of names in a particular field.
Okay. So all the different transcendental names of Krishna. And then now, what's unscrupulous? I think immoral, right? I'll say unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto. What's it mean?
No moral principles, not honest.
No moral principles, not honest, or what?
Fake.
Fake. So unscrupulous persons go immediately to the 10th canto, and especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's Ras dance. which is like the most confidential, the wonderful pastime in the Bhagavatam, but people don't want to go through systematically what is Bhagavatam. What are all the foundational teachings that will allow you to understand these things? So they want to skip right there. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes called Ras dance and his love affairs with the gopis. This is very important. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in transcendental knowledge, you're sure to misunderstand the Lord's transcendental pastimes. This is why it's very important we get the foundation teachings and we're following in a disciplic succession, because we have a very polluted, conditioned mind, and all we have to do is read something, and then we're like, well, I interpret it like this. And then we put our own interpretations, our own spins, and next thing you know, you're like, I think I'm Krishna, so let me rally up as many young girls as I can and try to perform these Rasta. I mean, this has happened throughout. So many unscrupulous personalities have done like this. But no one is ever able to. It's impossible to do the Ras dance for an ordinary human being like Krishna did, because Krishna expanded himself in millions upon millions of forms in this Ras dance, where unscrupulous persons might. No one has this mystic ability to manifest millions upon millions of forms. So anyway, there's all kinds of, we should not just jump to these type of pastimes, and there should be a foundation of understanding and relationship with Krishna before you try and understand his most confidential type of pastimes. So anyway, the subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained to the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendentally relish this Ras dance. Srila Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahminical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully, and then attain to the stage of transcendentally realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. So it's very important. Prabhupada is talking, we must try and cultivate these Brahminical or mode of goodness qualities. It's talked about earlier in this verse, the modes of nature. He's going to talk about it in the next paragraph. So we'll keep reading. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarup of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. Swarup means one's form, one's own form. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency, which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. So between the internal potency and the external potency. Sri Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. This is very important to understand, this external material energy around us. It's very temporary. We think it exists now. We might get like a house, we might get a partner, we might get some things, a career, a bunch of material relationships of this body, but it's flickering and it will pass. This is not the real. It's real in one sense, but this is not the thing to focus on. This is not truly sat or eternally true. It's only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. And also the analogy it was giving, or the land seen on the sea. That is, it doesn't actually exist, because you can get to land eventually. In the desert mirage, there is no actual water. There's only the appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appears as reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow, is in the spiritual world. But reality, of which this is but a shadow, is in the spiritual world. Absolute truth is the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky, everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation results from interaction of the three modes of nature, and the temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actuality, there is no reality in the manifested world. There appears to be reality. However, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally exists with his transcendental paraphernalia. So, a lot of unpacking here we likely will have to do. So in this material world, this is all temporary. We have factual experience with this. We see everything that we get here will disappear. This is very easily understood. But what's not easily understood, we're understanding like, all right, well, this is a mirage. There's no real water that we can hold on here in this desert. But there is an indication that water exists somewhere. And where is that somewhere? This is the spiritual sky, the spiritual abode. An eternal place where there's eternal pastimes, there's eternal love, there's eternal nectar, and actually eternal relationship with who? The personality of Godhead. So we actually were hoping that we can actually approach this eternal world. But, we're kind of stuck in a desert, and there's a mirage of water, and we're craving water because we're thirsty, but there's no real water here. So this is the problem. We're craving pleasure. We're craving, real happiness and eternal happiness. A situation of always being satisfied, but there's no satisfaction here. And as we run through the desert trying to get the water, we find it's even when we attain what we think we wanted, we find it's not at all what we thought it was.
Yeah,
and it's
a powerful message right there.
And it's an illusion.
Yeah.
So this is first verse. Vyasadeva is setting up the foundation of, all right, what's the thing we're a part of here? And then also, what's the solution? The solution is Sri Krishna in the spiritual abode. And his if we understand our relationship with that absolute truth, then we can actually find our own swarup, our own real form in relation to the absolute, that which is beyond the temporary shedding of bodies, the creation, the sustenance, and dissolution. There is no more, in the spiritual world, that process isn't there. It's a constant sustenance. It's an eternal existence. So, if this is setting up this foundation right here, we're not going to have too much more time. This is going to be a very comprehensive first verse. It will get less and less comprehensive throughout Bhagavatam, but Prabhupada really has to hammer in a lot of key points, or we'll really misinterpret this whole thing. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are being carried out by demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements, as well as all spiritual sparks, emanate from him only. And whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So, whatever is created in the material world is just the interaction of the two energies, the material and the spiritual. A chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen. But in reality, the living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord. And the materials with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and he is cognizant, knowledgeable of all minute details. He is fully independent. He is compared to a mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in so many different forms are compared to objects made from the gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. So, if you imagine all the totality of existence, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Creator, he is infinitely all the gold of existence, and all of the wonderful parts of this material world in which we're actually part of, we're little specks or flecks of gold. And sometimes there might be a great planet, which could be compared to a nice little gold ring. Or there might be a great galaxy, which can be like a gold necklace or something like this. But there's an infinite mine of gold here, and this is the Supreme Lord. So it's important to understand our position, and even this wonderful things of the world. There's so many great personalities, even like the sun. The sun is this great mystical divine light orb, just giving so much light energy. But even this is only a small part of the grand manifestation of the Lord. The sky, nature, so many things, but these are all only just small little ornaments of the Lord from his infinite gold mine. So these are some things to understand, some perspective. Conditioned souls, beginning from Brahma, who engineers the entire universe, down to the insignificant ant, are all creating, but none of them are independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator other than his own self. This is a very foolish conception. This is called Maya, or illusion. Because of his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses. And thus, he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape, without the aid of a superior intelligence. This is refuted in this shloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole or the absolute truth is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the absolute truth. Whatever happens to the body quickly becomes known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the absolute whole. Therefore, the absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happens in the creation. So, there's so much going on here. It's actually blowing my mind. I'm looking forward to the parts of the Bhagavatam which are not so comprehensive. But this is a good training for me as well to really try and fundamentally understand this spiritual system. So,
just one question. Is this nothing is absolutely equal with absolute truth, but at the same time nothing is independent of absolute truth? Is this Achintya Abheda Bheda?
Yeah, it's similar to Achintya Bheda Bheda. Everything is one with, but simultaneously different. But you read what? Nothing is independent. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Yeah, I mean, because it's the absolute, you can't take a piece of the absolute and compare it with the infinite absolute. It'll never be like that. But at the same time, everything is a part of it. So it's related to Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, but I'm not sure that line would be describing Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. But it's definitely very related. So, we're just trying to understand the position of the Supreme. And also it's helpful to understand our very minute position. That, wow, I'm so infinitely small. And I'm not, even Brahma, who's creating the universe, he's small. in only a part and portion of the Lord, like a gold ornament. But us as like an insignificant ant, really, what are we really creating? What we think we're like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. But actually, it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, this is actually a false conception to think you're doing energy. You're doing anything. You're borrowing the energy of the Lord. That's all we're doing. It's just like, oh, the Lord has provided this little bit of energy here. So, we can get in a conception, this is mine, that is mine, but really, this is all the Lord's. And how should we properly use it, the Lord's energy? It's mentioned, when we don't utilize everything in sacrifice, we become thieves of the Lord. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. We want to take everything and utilize it in the Lord's purpose. And the Lord gives a system of how the living entities will best live their lives. And this is the Vedic teachings. So Bhagavatam is going to go through so much. It's amazing, actually. But even just seeing the first verse, how much to unpack. Now imagine that we have 18,000 verses. Don't get overwhelmed. This is going to be a long study. But this is a practice, and if I was trying to put on a YouTube series and finish something, so people, this cannot be what it's about. This is our own personal practical study. And really the only reason I'm sharing this is because maybe it might benefit somebody else. But anyway, we're in for a long haul here. I think we're going to stop here today. As you saw, we only made it through the... actually, we made it through most of the first verse. But we'll finish tomorrow. Because also we should maybe unpack the verse and again, summarize it. This is a tough verse. The first 3 verses are pretty comprehensive and heavy, and then it'll kind of go into story mode a little bit. So it'll get a lot easier, don't worry. So anyway,
I'll turn my worry into excitement.
That's good. I hope you guys can be excited. I hope it might be able to feel like a bit of dry and philosophical, but it's quite sweet. It gets so sweet, actually, especially when you do get in Krishna's pastimes, but all throughout it's very sweet. So, we're going to end here. Thank you for joining on YouTube. We will get through it, don't worry. It's a lot. But, thank you for whoever joined on Facebook, and especially Taraz and Parth. Thank you guys for sitting and participating. The real live. And actually, this is the most benefit we can do. It's like this. So, thank you guys again. Hare Krishna, and